come and talk to you guys for a little bit on my way to work this morning. So we are going to this evening start to read Compton Street Legend. So Compton Street Legend was written by Dwayne Keefe D. Davis and Yusef Ajah. I think that's the last name. Yusef Ajah, right? And we are hearing a lot of talk as this trial is getting ready to begin that Keefe D did not write this book, right? We are hearing a lot of conversation about Keefe D not writing this book because he could not remember some of the intricate details of the book, right? But a couple of days ago, I was listening to AV, to the Seventh Power. Go subscribe to her channel because she is definitely going to be doing some legal analysis of this case. She sat with the lead attorney. She started out with the lead attorney, and from that she has grown a huge YouTube following of her own. So she covers a lot of cases. And if you go into her playlist, you will see some things, additional things I've been sharing and posting as this trial is about to start. But when I was listening to AV, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, she mentioned a couple of things about the book because she purchased the actual hard copy of the book, right? And so she mentioned a couple of things about the book that piqued my curiosity. And you guys know how I am. I am an avid reader, okay? I have been since I was about 2-3 years old, okay? And it's something that I passed on to my grandson. For right now, my grandson is like the only one of my grandkids that picked it up like me. But I'm sure Shuggy will, but she's interested in, she talks my head off, okay? So she probably picked that up from me, right? But my grandson is a reader like that, and since he was small, just the same way, like me. And so I sat yesterday and I thought, and I was like, why haven't I read this book yet, right? Why didn't I read this book? Because you guys know I'm an avid reader, and I start with reading documents, trying to find out how much I can dig into reading into a situation, because people can present anything to you. They can tell you anything, right? But unless you know it for yourself, you're just gonna go on with the status quo, what everybody is saying. And that's whether or not you think you are the enlightened or the unenlightened, right? And most people think that they are a part of the enlightened group or the elite group, and it is the other people who are not a part of that group, right? And that they need to go some kind of way and depart knowledge to them, right? But a lot of the time, those followers, their followers are going off of the leader or going off of what the status quo is for that particular way of thinking, right? And so I was thinking to myself yesterday, why haven't I read this book yet? Because any other time, this is where I would start. I would start with reading the book. And the reason why reading the book is important is because in this trial, the book is going to be connected to the interviews. It's going to be connected to the interview, right? So this is what we have. We have the book. We have interviews that he's done on social media. And then we have the interview, right? And that interview stands alone. And that's the interview that he had with Greg Caden in the proffer agreement, right? Because the book, in between the proffer and the book, you have these interviews. And then you have some interviews outside of the release of the book. All of that is going to be important for us understanding how we got to Keefe D being indicted on these charges, right? And everybody's focus is on, did he do it, right? Did he do it? Well, my focus is not on did he do it. My focus is did what he present to the lead investigators in this case, what he documented in the book and the interviews, is it plausible that he did it? And if so, this is how we get to this indictment. This is how we get to the charges. My question is, can the prosecution prove their case? That he violated the terms of the proffer agreement, which is what allowed him to be charged for this murder based on his own self-admission from 2009. I believe it was 2009. Either 2009 or 2008, right? So that is my focus as I view this case. Can they establish that? I am not concerned with all of the intricate details of the actual crime based on the book, based on the proffer, based on his interviews, because we all know that when people are committing crime, they are going to try to throw you off the scent of them committing a crime. So while Keffe D was sitting in the room with this proffer with Greg Hayden, there are lots of lies that he probably told at that time, right? The main thing was him admitting to the murder, but there were probably lots of lies that he told at that particular time, because he's thinking that he's going to tell them something that if later on something comes up, he's thrown them off. He's thrown them off the scent of the trail, right? This is what all gangsters, street people, drug dealers, murderers, rapists, this is what they do. They give you some of the truth and then they tell you some of a lie, right? This is how it's done. We have observed that Dwayne Keffe D cannot even tell a straight story about his history as a gang member. He lies about that just a couple of days ago, right? And so it is his nature to lie. But can he be connected? My question is, can he be connected to the events the night of the murder in some way? It doesn't have to be the way that it's written in the book. It doesn't have to be the way that it's told in the proffer. It doesn't have to be the way that it's told in these interviews. Is he connected? That's the question, right? And so I listened to a little bit of the book last night because I wanted to kind of get like a little bit of a head start and have a handle on our conversation and how we tailor our conversation about this book. And there are some interesting things in this book that show that Keffe D had a major hand in writing this book. He talks about a situation where his grandmother pulled a gun out on him. He gives some history about his parents' medical condition, about his brother's medical condition. He gives some information as to how he became involved in a street gang. He tells information about his upbringing prior to the age of 14 and his connections to the church and how it was vital that they were in church every single Sunday. There are some things that let us know that Keffe D is connected to this book and he had a hand in writing this book, okay? There are some details about his past criminal history in this book that no one would know unless he told them, right? The idea of he didn't have a ghostwriter per se, like he's trying to classify it, right? He had someone assist him in writing, because imagine trying to read a book the way that Keffe D talks, right? Imagine that. Imagine trying to read a book the way that Keffe D talks. No one, good morning, JoJo. No one is going to be interested or have tolerance to read a book that is on a 4th grade reading level. So he had someone assist him in writing the book because you want to make a book that people will want to read, that are above a 4th grade reading level, right? So there was someone who assisted him, who played as editor to make sure that certain things connect in the book. part of doing that is making sure you set the proper stage, the scene, the time. When he's saying he doesn't know anything about Frank Sinatra or none of that kind of stuff, those are things that pleasantries that editors will add to pieces of written work in order to make the reader more intrigued, right? In order to make them want to read. You connect the time, the events, different stage things, different things that occur. This is why we might see some additional things of, oh, the night before I met up with them, right? You said, did you see the interview part 2? I didn't see the part 2 yet. I'm gonna watch that when I get in. But these are all the important things in reading this book, right? So most of the people, what I have come to find is that most of the people who are saying that Keffe D doesn't even know what's in the book have not read the book. They haven't read the book themselves. I'm not even certain if Vlad read the book before he interviewed Keffe D. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. There were excerpts that Vlad took out of the book, but did he read the book in its entirety in order to be able to come to some type of sound opinion, some type of sound viewpoint on what the whole work in and of itself, compared to what we are about to find out from pieces of the proffer based on the evidence that's going to be admitted? Those are the things that are important, right? Those are the things that are important for us to focus on and compare. Not the entire work to determine if the entire work is true based on something about Frank Sinatra and then they arrived early the night before. None of those things. We are talking about the events that took place the night of, and we need enough of the sleight of the hand to let us know that Keffe D wrote this book. He had a hand in writing this book. Now, one thing I posted on my wall last night, before I started to read the book, listen to the book, because we're gonna listen to it on Audible. So one of the things that I noticed is everybody has been spelling Keffe D's nickname either wrong or correct, and then the book has it either wrong or correct. So, including Vlad, right? So, Vlad, that and JoJo, that is the dumb shit that people are focusing on. Like I said, this is part of storytelling. It's part of writing, is that you add those things in. It's a technique that you add certain things in order to set people in the proper scene in the proper time. And that's, people want to point to those type of things because it's to deter you from paying attention to what's important in the story, right? But most of y'all who claim that he don't know what's in the book, y'all don't know what's in the book to know if he does know what's in the book. So, and most of the people interviewing him don't know what's in the book, right? So we are going to go see what's in the book, right? However, I want to talk about this really quick before I go in. Keffe D's name is misspelled either on the book or the way that people have been presenting it online. And when I say people online, I mean mostly black YouTube. Now, Vlad is not African American, but he caters and tailors to an African American audience. He got the first interview from Keffe D and he spelled it wrong. This is one indication to me that these people aren't even paying attention to key details, because one of the first things that Vlad and all of his people over there should have been trying to figure out is, okay, how do you properly spell your nickname? Because we need to make sure we have it right when we are posting the titles on these interviews. And I'm sorry, I can't trust nobody who don't pay specific attention to that. You are putting up an interview that is spelled Keefed, right? But the book has his nickname listed as Keffed, right? And so one of the things that is making me believe that Vlad and his people over there did, I don't know what kind of reading they did in the book, but they missed the cover. They missed the cover of the book because they got the man's nickname spelled wrong. And as a result, all of Black YouTube has been spelling it the way that Vlad has it and not the way on the book. So it is either that the book has it wrong or YouTube has it wrong. And the other thing that is letting me know, Keffe D didn't take any time to correct it. He didn't take any time to correct it. Because all he was focused on was telling story for profit. That's it. Now, how much profit that was, we don't know. Because it's been so many misconceptions. Keffe D said he got paid $150K. Vlad people say he got paid $5K. Whatever amount it was, that's all he was focused on, is how he could make money off the story. Right? And in the beginning of the book, for someone who claims to be afraid of what might happen to him as a result of Greg Kading coming out and speaking on this subject, for somebody who claims that he's disconnected from street activities, Keffe D issues a verbal warning. Keffe D issues a verbal warning to Greg Kading and anybody else who might think that they're going to do something. And he connects that warning to his street credibility. Right? So that's in the beginning of the book. So I very so much doubt that Yusef put that in there. He probably edited it, made it sound at least on some type of collegiate level, right? But that stern warning came from Keffe D directly himself, okay? To add that in. That's a sleight of the hand that we know for a fact. Some of the language that his attorney used in that hearing, that bail review hearing, the third one especially, is in this book, right? About his past, his history, his gang activity, his business, the business in what he was, how he spread that around America, right? Like, these things are mentioned, some of these things. And so we are going to get into that. The book is a little over 4 hours. So I figured that if we do a little over 2 hours for the next 2 nights, we can get through it by Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, and maybe some over the weekend, as I can fit it into my schedule, we can review those interviews again. And then by that point, trial starts Monday, so we should be ready and prepared to listen to, it's going to start with jury selection, of course, but we should be ready and prepared to get ready to listen to the testimony that will be given, and we can then compare based on that, not based on what all of these Black YouTubers are out here saying, and we're going to believe them, and we're going to believe how Keffe D is narrating this story in these interviews and find these inconsistencies. No, we are going to look for consistencies. That is what the investigator is going to look at, how the inconsistencies can impact their overall theory, right? But they are going to look for what is consistent to confirm the whereabouts at the time of the crime and whether or not the person is connected to the crime, right? The script was supposed to be for the proffer. Now, all of a sudden, he says he was given another script for the interview. Well, the problem is that he adds some things to the script in the interview that might tell on him that he was actually there, when his whole defense is he was not even there. Some of the things that Keffe D adds into the interview when he's doing the interviews, as opposed to when he wrote the book. And then I'm going to automatically assume when he had this script with the proffer. They are not consistent. And those inconsistencies could confirm his whereabouts. That is when people are not connected, right? So I don't know how the court is going to spell it. They are going to probably more so use his actual name. And I don't know. Listen, the detectives who put his name up on when they arrested him. They had it spelled Keefe. But I'm telling you, on the book, it's spelled Keffe. And when we look at people in mainstream media sources, they knew enough to pay attention to what the book said because they have it documented Keffe. To me, that tells me that they are someone who read the book, right? The people who did not read the book are the people misspelling his name because they're misspelling it according to the Vlad interview. That's how I'm able to make a connection. That's how I can imply that is more than likely where that is coming from. Not because they read the book to know if what he's saying is part of the book. Now, this is another thing that was revealed. So it was revealed that his attorney actually did try to tell him not to do these interviews. So while Keffe D, his attorney at the time, that he had at the time. So while Keffe D is saying that he believes that his attorney was working with Vlad in order to push out these interviews and encourage this book, like this was some type of conspiracy against him, there is going to be some confirmation and documentation that his attorney actually told him this is probably not a good idea. Okay, so that's another thing we want to look for. But listen, you guys, I just made it here. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to get done what I need to get done today. And then we are going to come back around 8 o'clock. If I have to change it a little bit, I will forewarn you guys. I'll try to forewarn you at least a half hour ahead of time. But hopefully, I think I should be in by about 7 so I can get done what I need to get done. And then we can jump into listening to the book at 8, exactly at 8, because like I said, the book is a little over 4 hours, so I want to try to get it done in 2 days, so that we can listen to these interviews again attentively, and then that way we will have what we need is foundation in order going into. Now we know this is a little bit backwards because jurors are not going to have this, they aren't going to. Some of them may have, but depending on how jury selection goes and how they answer the questions in jury selection. But most of all, more than likely, the goal is probably going to be for the defense and for the prosecution to have jurors who did not hear any of this material. But we are going to listen for it because we don't want to listen to the people who don't even spell his nickname according to what how the book spells it, who never even bring up the question or raise the question. Well, how, if I was Vlad, I probably would have started off the interview by asking him, well, how did you acquire this nickname? What does it mean? Does it come from something? Does it derive from something? What is the way? How do we spell that? I probably would have asked that prior to the interview. As you are sending the person out to interview the person before the interview, so that you make sure that you present it right in your own presentation. Right? But nobody was worried about that. And nobody after Vlad was worried about that. But on this cover of this book, they have one thing. The mainstream media has it spelled one way, but Black YouTube then went off of what Vlad said, and they spelled it the way Vlad spelled it. And guess what? Keffe D, I ain't heard him publicly say nothing to correct nobody. Okay? I ain't heard him say nothing publicly to correct nobody about the misspelling of his nickname. And that nickname is taken like a major moniker, right? They have on the thing the Notorious Keffe D, right? Like the Notorious B.I.G. Another questionable unaliving that is alleged to have been connected to. Right? So, the spelling of it should be important. How you spell it should be important. It should be some consistency. Somebody along the way should be asking the question, why are people spelling it this way? Mainstream media is going to look at it that it's being misspelled by those people on non-traditional media because they just don't know. Because guess what? They're looking at the book. They probably actually read the book or had staff members who actually read the book. I'm going to tell you that if any of these black YouTube commentators who are commenting on this, if they read the book, I'm going to tell you one thing, they skipped the damn cover. Or they don't care about detail. And that is why we are going to read the book today, so that we can pay attention to the details in order to make sure that we are well informed prior to going into discussing this case. So, you guys, maybe we'll start off, JoJo, like that. Maybe we'll start off listening to the new, the actual part of the interview, because I think it's still part of the initial interview. I think they just maybe released it in pieces or something. So maybe we'll start off listening to that prior to us going into the book. But that is on our agenda for today, is listening to Compton Street Legend, okay? So I will be playing it on Audible, and I will talk to you guys soon. Y'all have